This picture here is a really interesting picture. I'm going to spend a little time on this, explaining to you what happened. In 1994, Dr. Robert O. Young, working with a girl in Dallas, Texas, the girl had diabetes, and he was observing her blood under the microscope. If you look at the right bottom there, number 15, he was looking at a red blood cell. And this is in real time. You can actually see this, and I can show it to you elsewhere. But this happens in real time, and we just have pictures of it here. But as he was watching and observing this red blood cell, he noticed a tail started to form. And look at number 11. The tail is more distinct there. And if you go to number 9, the tail is becoming more distinct. And number 7, number 5, number 3, and look at number 2. The cell has actually morphed into a red blood cell. I mean, into a bacteria. In fact, a rod bacteria. And as we know, rod bacteria gets us really sick. Okay, Dr. Young at this point was so astounded by this phenomenon that he wondered if there's anybody else in the world that had ever observed this in any laboratory. He searched the world, and he finally found someone in France in the 1800s, a chemist by the name of Antoine Béchamp. There's another story to it, how he miraculously was able to enter the archives in France and able to study and observe the research of Antoine Béchamp. And he saw pictographs and drawings of this chemist, of this process. Now this process is called pleomorphism. Pleo meaning many, and morph meaning change. And he saw that this is really astounding, that a human blood corpuscle, the red cell, can actually morph into a bacteria. Now, at the very same time when Antoine Béchamp lived in France in the 1800s, there was another man by the name of Louis Pasteur, who we are all familiar with. Louis Pasteur postulated that the human blood is sterile, that if any disease comes into us, it comes from the outside. Any disease that you see in us comes from the outside. Antoine Béchamp, on the other hand, said that the blood is not sterile, and if the blood is in an acidic stage, our own cells will change and morph into other forms, including that rod bacteria you see there, and it can make us sick. In fact, it can even go further from bacteria. It goes from bacteria, yeast, fungus, mold. Okay? So today, on the Western world, we follow the practices of Louis Pasteur. Again, that's called monomorphism. We all learn this in school. We teach this in school. We practice this in all of our practices here. We pasteurize things, meaning we cook everything out. We heat our milk, our juices, our canned foods. We heat it up to a certain temperature and let it cool back. At that point, hopefully we've destroyed all of our organisms so that they cannot enter us from the outside. So if everything's clean, we should be well. However, we're still seeing many changes take place in our lives. We're becoming very sick. We're acquiring many types of diseases which are very difficult to cure. And so this concept of pleomorphism, which explains why we get sick from the inside out, not only from the outside in, is an explanation which helps us to understand why we get sick today. Here is a picture of blood under the microscope. The one on the right side are pictures of some cells, but around the cell are lots of what we call yeast. The yeast appears in our blood as ping pong balls, and here you see a large colony of yeast. Yeast is unfortunately fed by sugar, as many of you know in the baking industry. The sugars that feed the yeast are all forms of sugar, by the way. It's sucrose, galactose, fructose, all forms of oses. And the yeast doesn't care what kind of sugar it is. It's the sad thing. And it just feeds on any form of sugar we take into our bodies. Here is a picture on the left side of blood of a normal diet. You can see that it's quite dark, doesn't have much light in it. The cells are jagged. If you look on the bottom left side, there's some cells that are very jagged, uneven, and that's due to what we've found, to a lack of oils. Around each cell layer is a bilipid layer, and they need oil. They need soft oils. They need good oils. And good oils you can find in the stores today. It's called cold pressed oils. These are oils that are squeezed out at room temperature, at ambient temperature. And after you open the bottle, you have to put it into the ice box or refrigerated. You keep it fresh. When you use it, you take it out and pour it over your lettuce. And the recommendation is that we take 3 to 4 tablespoons of oil per day. That will help to keep our cells strong. We have found this correlation. Okay. The other thing about this picture here, the cells are uneven. Some are large and some are small. Now on the right side, you notice that every cell is almost the same size. They're perfectly round. The water is very clean, and you can see a light shining out of each cell. Now we are going to explain to you how to get there. And what's interesting about this entire process is you can go from the left side to the right side. Of course, by making correct choices, you can do that. By making bad choices, you can move back again to the dark side. These are our basic choices to life. Here's another sample of a person with an acidic diet and a good diet, an alkaline diet. A person who drinks alkaline, eats alkaline foods, drinks alkaline water, and is careful to stay on the alkaline side. Dr. Young has found that the number of 7.365, and it's interesting that he's picked out such a critical number, and that's the number that in which good health is given, and we'll explain more about that a little later. But here you see again a person eating acidic on the left side and the person eating alkaline on the right side. And again, this picture, you can go from the left to the right. And that's the power of the human body. It's got that strength, and it's got that latent ability to move itself to the good side if you give it the right ingredients. Another picture here of having bacon and eggs. You can see moving from the right side to the left side this time, and bringing separation of cells here, more light, and cleaning of the water. As the person's made some changes from eating other things for breakfast besides bacon and eggs.